In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to replace your gas furnace step by step. I have so many people quoted thousands of dollars to have their furnace replaced, and this is really something that you can potentially save a lot of money doing yourself. Make sure you're being safe doing this when it comes to electricity, when it comes to gas, but we'll walk you through it step by step and show you how to do it. All right, so to start, obviously we're going to turn off our power here. And we're going to shut off our gas. For these old valves, just make sure it's perfectly perpendicular with the pipe. Next, we're going to pop this union off. Sometimes these are tricky to determine which way it goes. Just have to grab the one side. Obviously it goes the other way. Just like that. Okay. Now let's pull this front cover off. What I like to do is just hold my finger over this opening for about 30 seconds. And if you get any sort of pressure buildup, you need to either adjust this or put a cap on it to make sure that no gas is leaking. I don't feel anything, so we're good there. Alright, so next what we're going to do is disconnect our electrical. So we're going to pull this vacuum plate off. Actually, we're going to take this off as well because sometimes the connections are in here, but on this one it's not. So what you'll more than likely see here is your neutral is just going to be wire nutted here, and then you'll have the main power supply, and then your switch, that's your furnace wire. That's the one we're going to be disconnecting here. Okay, so let's disconnect our neutral now. And this big one is the one that goes into our furnace. And we also have our ground, so let's disconnect that as well. So if yours has a brown and a blue, this wire here actually goes to the condensate pump. And so we're just going to wire that back in. Brown would go back to our white. So we'll disconnect our ground, pull that through. And then we're going to disconnect this whole box. It's just held in with these two 1/4-inch screws here. Alright, so that's free. Now all we have to do is disconnect these two thermostat wires, and this whole thing will be freed off of the furnace. So these furnace wires go into the side of the case, through here into our thermostat wire. So this is where we'll be working. We'll show you what these wires go to and how to reconnect these when we're done. We're going to clean this up too because it looks like a rat's nest right now. Alright, so here we have our G terminal, C, R, Y, and W. So to give you a breakdown here, G is going to be for your fan. So when this has power, the fan will turn on, and that's typically a green wire. C is your common, so that will supply a constant power to your thermostat, and it will provide constant power to other components like the condenser is typically what's connected to common. And these wires can be various colors, but most of the time at the thermostat, the common will be a blue wire, but just make a note of what color went where. R is typically red, and that's our constant 24-volt supply. Y is for cooling, and typically this will be a yellow wire, but here it's a blue and a red, so just make note of that. and make sure that you connect the new furnace board how the other one was disconnected. And lastly, W is for heat, and that will typically be a white wire. So what you can do is just snap a picture of this, just make sure and connect everything exactly as you found it on the old furnace board. Something to note too is that some old furnaces don't actually have terminals. They just are wire nutted and are based on the color. So what you can do is look on the inside of the door panel, and it'll give you a readout of what each color means. Now, something else to note here is that typically the thermostat loom that has 4 or 5 wires, that's what's going to go to your thermostat. And again, try not to be intimidated by this. So this comes from your thermostat, so you can kind of mentally set that aside once it's disconnected. The next one will just be a smaller one for your AC, and it'll typically just have 2 wires, one that will go to Y and one that will go to C. So that's what we have here. So these don't matter as far as the polarity. So you can put one, as long as one of them goes to Y and one goes to C, that will tell your condenser to come on in cooling. Now this one in this application is actually for the humidifier, and it's labeled right here HUM. So again, doesn't matter on the polarity. You got one going to humidifier and one going to common. So hopefully that's clear. If not, leave me a comment and I'm happy to explain that a little bit clearer. All right, so everything's disconnected there. Next, let's disconnect our exhaust venting here. Next, we're going to be working on disconnecting the return air from our furnace. So let's start by taking this filter out. Yours will probably be a little bit different, but as you can see, there's a little lip here that's bent around the furnace, and what we need to do is bend that off, and the whole return duct here will slide off of the furnace. So what we're going to be using for this is a sheet metal bending tool. This can be found on our Amazon store. So what we're going to do is just slide this into that piece of sheet metal there, and we're just going to start bending it out. So this one actually uses S-clips, which is even better. Super easy. Okay. Wow, that was too easy. All right, so our return is disconnected here, so we're pretty much done inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put these covers back on for ease of moving this out of here. So last but not least, we are going to be disconnecting the plenum from the furnace. So we're going to show you how to do that. All right, so our plenum just has a couple of zip screws, one in the corner here. As a DIYer, these bits are amazing. I highly recommend you pick up a set of these. So I have the shorty here, and then I also carry a 6-inch one for things that are easy to get to, such as this one. So this one might be a little bit tricky because we have to suspend this coil while we pull the furnace out and put the new one in. So we might have to get a little crafty in terms of keeping that coil up, but we're gonna just go around, disconnect all these screws, and then see where we're at. So there's our A coil. And I think what we're going to do is cut this sheet metal down there so we can take this whole sheet metal piece off and then see what we can do to hold this up while we swap out the furnace. Alright, so let's hook up our ratchet here. See what happens. We don't need much here, just a little bit. See, we're moving up. Nice. This is pulling in, but that's fine. That should be enough space here to where we can slide this furnace out. So let's give it a shot. So when we went to move this, I noticed that the return duct was actually moving. So I took the cover off, and there's actually a screw right there that's holding this to the return. Let's go ahead and pop that off. All right, so what we need to do next on our new furnace, we see this cutout here. Just like that, easy peasy. Now there's a piece of insulation that's just this size. I usually just take this whole piece out and any little remnants that we got here. So now we're gonna work on our transition for the return and make sure that's ready to go. So over here at the return, we're gonna have kind of the same thing right here. We're gonna bend this in, and that's gonna make just a little gap here that we'll fix up. And all we'll have to do is open up the ductwork here. So we're gonna add about 3 inches of airflow of CFM there. While we've got this setting here, we are going to take a Sharpie. So right here on this edge, we're gonna mark that on the return. The lip there, but that's roughly what we want right there. Okay, so let's grab our turbo shears and cut that out. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna bend this out with our bender tool. This also can be found on our Amazon marketplace. Very versatile tool, super easy to use. Okay, so what we need to do is we're butted all the way up against this return duct. We're gonna make our cut right here. And then I'll show you a really easy method of connecting this return grill to the ductwork. And we're just gonna take our tool here and I'm gonna bend this down. Just like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing for this one because this guy's a little bit bigger than our opening, which is, again, is fine. As long as we're not going smaller, that's the biggest thing. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take these and we're gonna cut about 1-inch pieces, and that's gonna make this way easy to bend. So we're actually going to do something a little bit different on the bottom. So that's why I didn't cut the notches out there. But again, we're butted up here. So we're going to make our mark right here. We're going to go ahead and cut that. And we're going to bend that this way. So let's do a little test fit. That slips in nicely. All we have is this little strip, so we can tape that no problem. And probably what I'll end up doing here is, since we don't have a lip, I'm gonna bend this down just a little bit, and then I'm gonna tape it to the ductwork. We're gonna make sure that's nice and clean, and the bottom side will be taped. Alright, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna go through here, and I'm gonna do the same thing, cutting all of our notches. And then once our furnace is installed, we'll just bend these in, or bend them that way, and that will keep this all sealed up. Alright, let's go ahead and attach this. So we're going to get it put in place. And we'll start by just folding a few of these in. Careful not to cut yourself. Alright, next we'll do a little bit of tape work here. If you're doing sheet metal and ductwork, make sure you pick up one of these. I'll put that in the Amazon Marketplace as well. If you don't use a squeegee, it can definitely fail later on, but this ensures that it's really adhered well to the ductwork. Alright, I think we're ready to slide the furnace in. We'll slide it up against these, and then we'll fasten it and tape this and make sure everything is good and sealed. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the front covers. Packet is right here. Alright, so there's our finished product on the ductwork there. Everything is sealed up good. So the outside's good and sealed up. Our new filter just slides in just like that. Alright, so what I like to do, since we're already done with our return air and our filter rack and everything, I'm just going to keep working this way. I'm going to hook up our thermostat wiring. Now this one's a little bit different because it's a variable speed. This furnace can be used with a communicating thermostat, but this just unplugs, and as you can see on the back side, we have all of those same colors: red, blue, green, white, and yellow. Let's go ahead and get our thermostat wires here. We'll get those pulled down and into the side of the cabinet. Alright, so we're just going to clean this up a little bit. Twist these. So they're not all crazy and such. Now we're going to clip all of these off so that we've got fresh wires. So we're going to start with green. And we're going to use our little baby Klein. So we'll unthread the green, that wire in, tighten it down. Red is going to go to R. Just like that. White is going to go to W. Blue is going to go to Y. Give those a yank, make sure they're good. C is not going to be used. We're actually going to be installing a smart thermostat here, so we need that C wire. And I think what we're going to do is add a wire. So stay tuned. We're going to do a full video on how to get that C wire to our thermostat. All right, now we've also got our condensing wire. Okay, we're gonna do the same. Get some fresh ends here. And again, the polarity does not matter on these. So one is gonna go to C for common. And then the other one is gonna go with the Y here. So we're gonna loosen that back. Feed it in there. Crank it back down. And that's it on the thermostat wiring. So we're just gonna plug that back in. And we're all set on that. So we can go ahead and put this cover back on for now. Okay. Next, let's focus on our electrical. So let's start by removing these two screws here, which will loosen this guy. Now we're going to feed these over to our power right here. There we go. Okay, so this is going to pull down just a little bit. So we're covering this whole, this was used for the gas line, but we can totally use that. Just like that, and then we're just going to reattach this box via our two zip screws into the case. So that's securely mounted. Now let's go ahead and we'll just do our electrical wiring here. So just to reiterate, our white is going to go to our neutral, and also we're going to wire back in our condensate pump. So we're going to go ahead and use this hole as well. That's how they had it before, was they just had it stuck up in here. It wasn't even attached. So we will fix that. So if you haven't seen these are amazing. They're called Wago lock levers, and they basically replace wire nuts, because as you know, with a wire nut, sometimes they will not grab and you have issues with wire nuts. Now these, on the other hand, they open up, and you can get these in different variations. This is a 3-port, and you can use a stranded wire. Just slide it all the way in until you see it hitting the back there. And then you flip this down and it locks. And that's not going to go anywhere. These are the best new things. Scott at Everyday Home Repairs showed these to me, and they are really a game changer. So I'm going to use this one. I just have the 3 ports, and so I'm just going to utilize that instead of using a wire nut. Just lock it in. Open the next one. So the stab ones, you can only use solid wire. You can't use stranded, and that's the advantage to using these. Now our neutral was brown, so I'm going to hook that back up. Slide it in and lock it. Just like that. And as we took off before, our black is going to go to the top one here. Make a little U here. Just like that. And then our blue wire was going to constant power here. Just gonna connect this back right here. Just realized I had that flipped, so all we have to do is put this cover back on. We'll go like that, and then we're good to go. All right, so next let's work on the gas. This connection is gonna be super easy. We're just going from there to there. All right, so to start, we're just gonna do a 90 out, and then we're going to do a short nipple, about that long, and then we'll do our flex, and we'll probably just take this whole thing off right here. So let's go ahead and do that. This end, we'll just put some pipe dope on it, thread it right there. You don't need too much of this stuff. As I put too much on. But better too much than not enough, right? Okay. So we're just gonna loosely thread this guy on. Some sealant on this end and put our elbow on. Always make sure when you're tightening these that you grab onto this, because you can definitely break the gas valve. All right, now let's put our nipple on. Yeah, I think that's gonna work nicely. All right. That's it. So we'll turn our gas back on, and then we'll check for leaks. Don't see any bubbles. So I believe we're good on the gas. So now we will be pretty much done in here. We'll throw the cover back on, and then we'll work on our transition. So what we're going to do now is take the tension off of this strap. So I think what we'll end up doing here is dropping the coil because we have room, and we'll get this sealed up here, and then we'll just build our transition around it. Each one of these is a little bit different, so you kind of have to take them as they come. Alright guys, I apologize. It's really hard to film while I'm doing this. It's kind of messy because this is pretty tight quarters, but all of this is sealed up. That transition is sealed from behind, as well as this one here. So everything is sealed up, and we're just going to put this front cover back on, and then we should be close to being ready to fire this bad boy up. Let's go ahead and reconnect our venting. We're going to check our gas pressure in just a minute. Just heard the second stage kick on. Pretty normal when you first start it to see some orange in the flames because it's burning stuff off. But once this thing has been running, we should see pretty solid blue flames. And there goes the fan. Alright, so this unit's been running now for a little bit. As you can see, it's mostly blue flames. Normally I would check the gas pressure right now, but I accidentally forgot my manometer at home. So I got to come back and put a smart thermostat in here. So we're going to check the gas pressure and the static pressure, and I'll do a separate video on that when we do that. So that way you guys know how to do that as well. I've honestly never seen one of these Goodman valves that was out. I wouldn't be concerned if you don't do that. You know, if you install your unit and you have another company come out and do a tune-up, they can check the gas pressure, static pressure, and tell you if there's anything wrong. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. All we have to do left is put the cover back on and we're good to go. So our ductwork is not the prettiest, but it's all sealed. And we just have to do this PVC and then we're good to go. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. Check out this playlist for more furnace installation videos so you can get an idea on how difficult this is and if it's something you can tackle yourself. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Later.